Good afternoon, everyone. So, as promised today, I'm going to be editing this photo here, which is Sammy and Dan at the Mill Barns last June. Now, this is quite a complex one to do. I'll do my best to get it as nice as I can in this short tutorial, but basically the reason it's so underexposed is because I'm trying to retain the highlights here in the clouds and just keep as much detail as I can. You can always recover the shadows much better than you can the highlights. So let's give this one a go. As I say, there's going to be quite a lot to do here. So first off, let's get it nice and straight. A bit more, I think. Let's just do it from the point. Sometimes, now you can crop, but I like to use this tool because it really hugs the straight lines. And also we can go into the upright tool here, and if we need to just auto it out. Now that's not really going to look that great because we don't want to lose the perspective that we've got, and because if you take too much from the perspective, you're going to start losing your crop. Now that's pretty straight, and there's a little bit of a tripod. If we get into 100% here, there's a little bit of a tripod there because what's actually happened here is I've backlit Sammy's hair there and just given them a little bit of a fill light from a flash behind them with a grid on. I think we're going to just do one nice little bit. This is definitely the OCD kicking in now, but anyway, let's just straighten that over there, get them in the middle. If you guys have heard of the rule of thirds, now it's usually good to pay attention to this if you're trying to get a nice even composition. So we put them firmly in the middle of the middle central third there, and it just makes things look nice. So I'm going to start from complete scratch on this one, just show you exactly what I'm doing. So for now, let's just brighten up this and keep those highlights looking good. We'll just take those down a little bit. We know we can't crush the blacks too much. A little bit of clarity, not too much contrast. We don't want to go too crazy with that yet. Let's bring a little bit of a curve in. Now I always put a bit of luminance on just to soften the skin. Let's get it on there. So bring some shadows back out. Bring some whites in. We can worry about the clouds later on. Now, let's have a look at our temperature. What do we think? We want to really get into these in a little minute. So let's get the clouds down a little bit because you can see the nice pink hues in the clouds. We want to bring those back. So let's just bring the luminance down a little bit there so we can see them, but not too drastically. There we go, there's a little bit of the cloud detail. Probably pull a little bit of the blue out of the sky because it just detracts a little bit. So where's our yellows? So we've got some yellows here and here clipping. So we'll probably take a little bit of the yellow out, emphasize the orange and the red because that's really going to give us a bit of colour. Drop that down a little bit in this. There we go. Now, some camera not split toning, lens profiles. I don't really like to use this too much. It's very subtle, but it can really give you a nice effect. Just a little bit. Now you'll notice that it's really pulled those blues up again. So let's just get the blues down. We don't want to take too much out of the sky so it still looks natural. Do we want to bring any of the green out? No, I think we're good about there. So again, let's push our exposure a little bit. Now we're going to use a tool that we didn't use before, which is called the radial filter, which is this one here. And we're going to zero it out. Go down to the outside so that it's going to affect the outside. And I'm going to just take a little bit of exposure off the outside from around Sammy and Dan, just to keep that sky looking nice. And if you can see here by pressing the Y key, it shows you where it's affecting the image. So we might need to take quite that much off, and we'll create a new one. We're going to add a little bit more to them, just a bit more brightness, just so they really stand out and pop. We really want to go up with that, bring the shadows out a little bit on there. Take my clips off just so I can get an idea of my picture. So straight away we've come from there to there in a very short space of time, and there's still plenty more to do. Now if I was really looking to go in here, again I would globally push the saturation a bit, the exposure a little bit slightly. Seeing here that we're only losing our information in some of the light bulbs, so they won't be drastically affecting the frame, and they add quite a nice element to it. So now we're going to select the brush tool. I'm going to darken this sky down a little bit here in the corner, just so I can retain some of that detail in the clouds, because we want a nice balanced image. Now I know this seems quite excessive to do this much work to a photograph, but I promise you now, if you want to get those amazing show-stopping images, this is the level that you will need to go in. Obviously you can try your best and work your hardest on the day to get it exactly right in camera, but guys, weddings are very fast paced, and I had this all set up before they came out to make sure there was no waiting around for them, because they want to enjoy the day and make the most of their time on the day. And that is important for you to remember, that we are just there to highlight the best parts of it and not to take too much of their time away. Okay, so that I think is ready to go into Photoshop. Let's take this in, see what we've got. All right, so straight away, let's create a new layer, Command J, and we will get the magic eraser. Now what I want to do is just get in here and just get rid of, I don't want any of that going on, because if it was a big print, which this one has been printed quite big in some of the albums I've created, you don't really want to see that. And I would probably in another tutorial or for the real image get rid of some of these little reflections here. I wouldn't really want those to be there. And let me just think what else I'd probably do here. So, I mean, I'm thinking that looks really nice already. I think a little bit of a high pass. It's very sharp, it's good in focus, but we'll put a little high pass on. So we did that last time. We'll do other, high pass. Radius of 1 is usually really nice here. An overlay, and I don't know if you can see this. Just gives a little bit of sharpness to the whole image. Now what I might also do on the proper image is just remove some of the bits of light spill here from. What happens is when you have a flash behind, even with a grid, the light can spill around both sides, which you can see just here. It does happen. So I might clean that up as well. But for now, we'll put another little curve layer on. And just darken that down a little bit more there. I mean, I personally think that looks pretty great. So should we see where we came from? Let's go back to my files. So the original was here. Let's go back to Photoshop open again, to here. So it's quite a big difference. And as I said, there's a few more things I'd probably do, but that is a good overview of how you would create that shot. I really hope that helps, guys.